Hello there, everybody. I'm just getting set up. Hi, Melanie. Hey, Doug. How are you doing? Oh, trying to figure out this tripod. Push my computer back here. Okay. Hope you're all doing well tonight. As we just wait to see if we get some more people showing up, we can just start by noticing that you're sitting. So just taking a moment to really arrive in this space, in your space, in this moment. So whatever thoughts of the day before arise right now, we don't have to push away on them. We don't need to grab onto them either. We can actually take a second stance here and just let those thoughts be. Thoughts about the future, about what you need to do tomorrow or tonight, about the meditation we'll be doing. Those will arise, and once again, you can just let those go. Just let them be as they are. As you settle in, you can notice the cushion beneath you or chair, however you're sitting. Notice the sounds around you. And whenever you find your mind is strained to thoughts of the past, thoughts of the future, or even thoughts of the present moment, just notice those thoughts are arising and just come back to the simple act of sitting as you are right now. Your mind, you are actually perfect exactly as you are in this moment. You don't need to add anything. You don't need to take anything away. Just having this very relaxed, resting demeanor and letting your mind just be as it is. We'll give people another minute to arrive. And you can take that minute to really see if you can find this kind of resting posture. So the best meditation is a resting, relaxed meditation. So we don't actually need to use a lot of energy to meditate. So the more you can find this kind of sense of ease as you sit. It's like you've just in a big day of physical labor, working in the garden, or maybe even mental labor, something that's very trying. You're totally tired, your mind is tired, your body is tired. And it's that feeling of when you just throw yourself on the couch at the end of a long day. Nothing to do before you turn the TV on. Just throwing yourself back and resting into the space. I hope you're all doing well tonight. Thank you for joining me. I'm glad people joined, even though the word suffering was in the title of the video. Maybe I should have changed it to a different word. No one wants to hear about suffering right now. I don't think we've had enough of suffering for 2020, right? But I thought to start, I'd talk a little bit about the Buddhist concept of suffering, and why Buddhists talk about it so much, because I think people are often surprised. You see pictures of Buddhist monks, you see pictures of the Buddha, they're very calm, smiling, very happy. And then all through the teachings, there's all this talk about suffering. And you're like, I don't get it. Why are these people so happy? And why do they talk about suffering so much? I don't want to hear about that. And then run screaming from the room. But it's the whole idea around suffering, at least in the Buddhist philosophy, is to look at suffering directly and understand that some of the pain that we go through in life is inevitable. And suffering really occurs based on the way we react to the things that happen. So the very classical terminology when they talk about suffering, they're kind of the inevitable sufferings of life, which are birth, illness, old age, and death. And it's hard to argue that those four things aren't going to happen for all of us at some point. And the key is that we're not trying to dwell on this and think like, oh, I'm going to die, I'm going to get old, I'm going to get sick. Not that at all. That would be grabbing onto those concepts. But we have a tendency to push these things away and fear them, even though they're inevitable. So we fixate on this idea that, no, we're going to stay young, or no, we're not going to get sick. No, we're not going to die. Somehow it's not going to happen to us. And then at the same time, that kind of creates a tension inside, because deep down we know that these things are true, they're inevitable, they're going to happen. And that tension that's created is a form of suffering. Whereas if we can kind of let go of that fake belief or conceptual kind of permanent fixed belief and accept that some of the things that occur in life are inevitable, then we kind of have a freedom all of a sudden. It's like, oh yeah, you know, these things will happen one day. I don't need to dwell on it, but I can also acknowledge it, accept it, let it be. And really the whole attitude towards suffering comes down to the same meditation instruction I'm always giving, which is whatever occurs for you in your mind while you're meditating, or externally, you know, sounds, noise, whatever, unless it's something you really need to address. The main stance we always try to take is a letting things be as they are. So not grabbing onto things, not pushing things away either, just letting things be. When we do that with our mind, it actually calms down completely on its own. So without doing anything, really just deciding, okay, I'm not going to grab onto thought, I'm not going to push thought away, I'm just going to let it be. Just let it be. Not even letting go, because letting go can sometimes feel like pushing. So when you just let things be as they are, your mind will calm down. There will be less thought and less emotion. But if we have a kind of aversive reaction, like I want to get rid of this, I don't want this anymore, then it actually tends to make it stronger. So for suffering, there's the natural suffering. So as I mentioned before, old age, sickness, death. And then there's also mind-made suffering. So we sometimes call this the second arrow. So, you know, an arrow flies out and hits you and that really hurts, it strikes you, and that's painful. And then the second arrow, if it came and hit you in the same spot, that would really hurt. And we have a tendency with emotional and physical pain to react in this way. We kind of shoot ourselves with a second arrow. So we have whatever happens, and then we have our reaction to it, which is often as bad as the painful experience itself. So a good kind of concrete example of this in science is that a couple of years ago, a group of neuroscientists in the States studied the brains of Olympic level meditators, they called them. So these are people who have meditated their entire lives, have done several year solitary retreats. So we're talking thousands upon thousands upon thousands of hours of meditation. They compared their brains to people who had never received any meditation instruction. And what they did was they attached this little pad that filled with hot water to their hand, to their skin. And they pumped the pad full of very, very hot water, but not to the point where it would actually injure you. So there was a lot of pain, but there was no damage to the skin or whatever. And so they set up both the meditators and the non-meditators with this patch, and they actually played a warning signal before the pain would start. So there'd be a signal, and then there'd be about 5 seconds, then the application of the pain, and then it would end. And they measured the brains of the meditators and non-meditators the whole time using fMRIs. So an MRI is like a static scan of the brain. So you just have like a picture. And fMRI is a functional MRI. So you actually see the brain activity as it moves. So they were able to measure like pain receptors. And it was interesting for the non-meditators, they would hear the beep warning them the pain was going to come, and all the pain receptors in their brain would fire up as if the pain was already happening. And then the pain would happen, and then the receptors would continue to fire. And then once the pain ended, and they were able to measure because the water just stopped, so there was no more pain, no more physical application of pain. The pain receptors continued to be high after the pain was gone. Now, for the extremely experienced meditators, there was the sound and no activity in the pain receptors. And then when the pain was applied, their pain receptors shot up even higher than the non-meditators. So they actually experienced more pain. And then when the application of the water stopped, then the pain receptors stopped. So in the first case, the people who hadn't experienced meditation and learned how to work with their mind experienced the pain before it even happened, and it was just as bad as the actual pain. And then when the pain ended, the physical pain, the suffering continued. For the meditators, there was the actual pain, which was maybe even more painful, but they didn't have the suffering before and after. So that's just kind of a more concrete example of how we kind of approach suffering. So it's not to say that we should just accept all painful things that happen in our lives or enjoy them. And we don't want to be chauvinistic, and we need to stand up for ourselves and call out injustice and take care of ourselves. But we can decide, as we build this muscle of mindfulness and meditation, how much time we want to spend on this suffering. So that's just a little bit about suffering on a lovely Sunday night. At the end of the guided meditation, I'll check the live chat for any questions. So feel free to put them in, or comments, thoughts about suffering, complaints. You can put them into the live chat there. So tonight I thought we'd do a nice, easy, simple meditation while continuing to think of this concept of not pushing away, not grasping, just letting things be, but we're going to add a focus, which does make things a little easier. So classically, when we meditate, there's kind of 4 objects we can meditate on, objects being what we place our attention on. There can be mindfulness of the body, so doing body scans, noticing our body, noticing the soft parts of our body, the hard parts. There's mindfulness of mind, so that's actually looking directly at the mind, looking at thoughts as they occur. Mindfulness of feeling, which is physical and emotional sensations that occur in the body. And then mindfulness of phenomena, which is mindfulness of anything that occurs in our sense organs. So anything we can see, we can meditate on. Anything we hear, we can meditate on. Taste, smell, etc. So the meditation on phenomena is one of the easier ones to get started with, because we're not kind of internalized. We're looking at something external, and we're placing our mind on it. And through placing our mind again and again on the object, we learn to kind of strengthen our attentional ability. So we can decide, I want to pay attention to this right now. Whatever thoughts come up, we don't push them away. We don't grab onto them. We just bring our attention back to the object. So tonight, I think we'll do a meditation using sound. And you don't need anything for this, which is why it's a great meditation. So we're just going to listen to the sounds around us. And that's it. Very simple. I'll guide us through it. And all we'll do is listen, whatever sounds arise, bringing our attention to them. We'll get distracted often. Whenever we get distracted, we notice and bring our attention back to sound. So let's begin. To get started, just notice your posture. It's good to relax as much as possible. Rest into your spot while keeping your back somewhat straight for your own body. So when we're hunched over or we're leaning back, it can affect our mind in different ways. So even just being slightly erect, however is comfortable for you, will help to focus the mind. You can just gently leave your hands on your knees. If you're sitting on a chair, it's nice to have your feet touching the ground if you can, or put a cushion underneath your feet. For your eyes, you can leave them open or closed. I often actually recommend to have them open, because eventually with this stuff, we want to be able to keep calm and use meditation, even when we're walking around, talking, doing dishes. when things get tough. So if we meditate with our eyes open and get used to it, then we'll get used to using these skills actively. And as we begin, it's always nice to set our motivation or intention for the practice. And one way to really open our minds is to imagine that whatever meditation or practice we do tonight, it's going to help us to benefit everyone around us, including ourselves. This can really open up possibility. So a simple motivation to start could be something like, may this practice and my practice today, practicing these instructions, help me to benefit all beings around me. And then you can just let that go. And before we start bringing our attention to sound, let's just rest in an open awareness to begin with. So even if you close your eyes later, you can open them now. And you can just let your gaze rest in front of you, not focusing on anything in particular. You may notice sensations in your body, sound, thought, your breath. Not focusing on anything in particular. Seeing how much you can really just rest, let go of grabbing onto any particular thought or sensation, and just let the mind be exactly as it is. Just be with your mind. If your mind is calm, be with your calm mind. If your mind is stressed, be with your stressed mind. Just be with it without doing anything to it. And see how much you can rest into this being, just as you are. Now gently bring your attention to the sounds that are happening around you. You don't need to focus on a specific sound. You don't need to move from sound to sound. We're really going to let our ears do the work here. So just really bringing your attention to this act of listening itself, to whatever sounds arise. You may very quickly notice you become distracted by thoughts or memories, other things happening. It's perfectly normal and natural. So when that happens, just gently bring your attention back to the sounds happening around you. Our brain is used to doing its own thing. And so we're kind of giving the brain a job, and the brain will get distracted all the time. But we don't need to take it personally. We can just gently notice we're distracted and come back to whatever sounds are happening around us. When we sit down to really just rest and relax and focus on something, we'll often notice our monkey mind. Since we start to pay attention to it, we'll notice how much our attention jumps around. It's like our body is like a house, and each of our senses is like a door or window, like sight, hearing, smell, taste, touch, and then thoughts. And our mind is like a monkey that's just running around the house rampant, jumping out all the windows, doing whatever it wants. And we're giving the monkey a job right now, a new job, so it won't always be used to it right away. But that monkey's job is to just listen right now, just listen to sound. You may notice just one sound that's prominent. You may notice a symphony of different sounds. Your mind may stay with one sound and then another, then another. We can really just let our ears do the work here. No need to interfere, just very gently keeping our attention on sound. And you can really play with how little energy it actually takes to do this. So sometimes when we meditate, we get really uber focused and tight, but it takes very little energy to move our attention. As little energy as it takes to hear my voice right now, that's all you need to apply here. So see how soft you can be, how relaxed. We don't need to clear thoughts away. We don't need to clear around the background noise. So even as you listen to sound, you might have other things happening. But as long as you know that there's sound and you know you're listening to it, then you're meditating. For our last couple minutes, let's let go of all effort now. So no longer focusing on sound, not focusing on anything at all, really just relaxing completely, letting go, letting be. And as you rest now, see if you can notice how spacious your mind actually is, how big. Often, when we're stressed out or anxious, our mind can feel very small and very tight and focused. But even when that's happening in our mind, there's a great spaciousness that's actually available. We don't need to make that space, we don't need to manufacture it. It's already there. See if you can effortlessly notice this space and just notice it and let it go. And then rest into it. And as we come to the end of our guided meditation tonight, we can finish in a similar way to how we started, with dedicating our effort, whatever benefits we gain from this practice, imagining that it could be shared with all who need it. So whatever benefit I receive through this practice tonight, may it be shared with all. And then as you come out of your meditation, you can stretch out, listen to your body, whatever you need to do. I'll check for any questions if anything has come up, any questions about the practice tonight, the teaching tonight, meditation in general complaints and questions. I'll take them all. I'll let you ponder on that for a moment. I always like to assign a little homework at the end of class. So for your meditation homework, I'd always recommend short times, many times. So if possible, trying to get some meditation in every day is best, better than getting one big chunk in every once in a while. So even if it's just 5 minutes, because most people can find 5 minutes to just sit. You can sit in open awareness like we did and just letting the mind be, not focusing on anything in particular, or you could try out sound meditation. So just noticing sound. And it's great because you don't need anything special to do meditation. You don't need a special cushion. You don't need a special space or a special music. It can just be with sound. Then another good thing to add in is some kind of informal practice. So informal would be anything you do off of the cushion or off the chair. So usually a good tip is to pick something you do several times throughout the day and just add a bit of mindfulness into it. So for example, if you wash your hands often, as most of us are these days, whenever you wash your hands, you could apply some of the meditation practice. So if you're working with sound, as you wash your hands, just listen to the sound of the water, the sound of your hands, the sounds around you. And that's it. Just 10 or 15 seconds. And then, you do that 3 or 4 times a day and you've added another couple minutes to your practice. And you also start to create a bridge from moment to moment where you start to bring more awareness. And the great thing about informal practice is it's just stuff you're doing anyways. You're not having to add more time. You're just adding this awareness aspect to it. So those are my 2 homework assignments, which I won't check on, but I hope that you try them out and you enjoy them. I hope you enjoyed the practice tonight. I will try to post a little short 2 or 3 minute meditation tip in the next couple of weeks. And 2 weeks from today, I'll do our next live stream. So thank you everybody for joining me tonight. May you be safe. May you be happy. May you be healthy. May you live with ease. I hope you have a great couple weeks.